So why should you start an email newsletter? I am going to be telling you exactly why. I'm going to go through different reasons of how it can benefit you and your business and get your creative juices flowing, as well as potentially making you an income. And while you're doing all this, it doesn't even feel like you're working. I cannot wait to share with you why you should start an email newsletter. Now, if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Now let's get into this video. So why should you start an email newsletter? Well, first off, it's free. So that's the first thing. It's not actually going to cost you anything. There are different platforms out there which allow you to create an email newsletter. And what that means is that you can schedule them and they get sent to your audience whatever day you choose. So for example, for me, I have them sent out every Thursday and every Sunday, and extra ones that I've slotted in between those dates whenever I feel like writing an extra bonus newsletter. Another reason that it's so great is there's less planning involved. So it's not really as hard as what you would think it would be. There's not as much research that goes into it because ultimately you're creating a newsletter to send out to whatever audience you have built yourself. And the platforms that are available today for you to be able to use as your home for your newsletter are pretty good because they have like templates and everything. So you don't really actually need to design anything. All it is a case of choosing your font and choosing your theme colors, and the rest is kind of like done for you. I can guarantee it's something that you can set up. I was going to say in a day, but honestly, it will take you less than an hour. It isn't something that requires a lot of planning to begin with. And the planning that is involved is really pretty basic and kind of the outline of what your newsletter is going to be about. Having an email newsletter is less daunting than something like social media. Because if you think of social media, it's one platform where there are millions and millions of people connected. And you know when you upload something, it's going to everyone out there. There's an algorithm involved. When it comes to newsletters, there's no algorithm. So you're not sitting there wondering what time you should be posting, or why a certain post isn't doing so well, or how many likes you've had. It's really taking things back to basics. And that's why I love it so much, because it's less to do with what's trending, how many likes you have, and more to do with authenticity and reaching the people that you want to reach. And not only that, it's reaching the people who are genuinely interested in what you're writing about. It's not one of those places where people are scrolling and someone hits like on a picture they probably haven't even looked at properly. It genuinely does appeal to the right people. So you are appealing to the people who actually enjoy what you're writing about. It's more of a creative outlet, which is less visual. So less to do with a picture of where you are and what you're eating and what 5-star hotel you're staying in, and more to do with wholesome information or wholesome knowledge that you're sharing. Now, at this point, if you're still watching, then hopefully I've convinced you so far. Now, the next thing you want to think about is what it is that you're going to write about. And this is probably the one thing that gets most people stuck in a rut when it comes to thinking about writing a newsletter. What do I write about? What is going to be interesting to people? And I feel like so much thought goes into that actually it's really simple. You don't want to think about what it is that other people want to read about. What you want to think about is what it is that you want to write about. The more authentic you keep it, and the more you keep it aligned with what it is that you know about, the more real it's going to come across to anyone reading it. The way that I would approach it if I were you is figuring out what it is that you're passionate about, or what it is that you know a lot about first. So let's just say you are passionate about books. You read one book after the other and you've read every self-help or business help book that you can think of. That in itself is good for you because you are able to share that knowledge with other people. And if you love reading books so much and you love talking about the books that you've read, sometimes it can be hard to find people that actually enjoy that too. Sometimes I want to have a discussion about a certain book that I've read, but my husband hasn't read it. And it's hard for me to figure out who do I speak to about this, because I really want to have a conversation about this book, but I don't actually know who I can talk to. That's where you can write about that book in your newsletter, because what you're doing is you're kind of putting it out there, and whoever is interested in something like that is going to read it and is going to connect with you and will most probably follow you for future posts. I actually see having a newsletter is almost like finding a friend. You're kind of finding the people who resonate with the things that you like. Having a newsletter has almost made me feel like I have a platform where things are less judgmental. It's less about trending things. It's less about what everyone's wearing. It's more about about what information do you have? What are you interested in that I may also be interested in too? And I'd love to hear your opinion on it. It's honestly one of the best creative decisions I've made in a long time. I am so glad that I started a newsletter. I wish I started it earlier. I'm absolutely loving it, and that's why I want to share all these tips with you. Now, going back to what you're going to write about, let's just say you don't have something that you're passionate about, or maybe you can't think of something that really stands out for you about yourself. For example, with me, it would be beauty, because that's something I've been doing for years, and that's why I have my other YouTube channel focusing on beauty, and I also incorporate that into my newsletter that I have. But even though I had that one thing that I'm passionate about and I've created a business around, when it came to my newsletter, I really wanted to approach it in a different way. I didn't want to just pick what I knew I was good at, because I felt like I'm so consumed by beauty and educational content for beauty that I really felt like I want to diversify things, because there were other things that I'm interested in. You know, I love style and fashion. I love talking about other things that don't necessarily have anything to do with beauty. So when it came to setting up my newsletter, I decided I'm going to cover several different topics: fashion, beauty, culture, self-awareness, business, and entrepreneurship, so that I know that I'm kind of like feeding my soul when it comes to what I love doing and what I love talking about. And it's not just kind of pigeonholing myself into this one category of beauty. There is a lot more to me than just doing makeup tutorials and educating people on beauty. So this way it's helped me to diversify, kept my creative juices flowing, and I feel like I'm talking about everything and anything. The great thing is there are people that are interested. So if you don't have something that you are passionate about, if you can't think of something that you really want to focus on, then how about you do something really simple? For example, curate different things with every newsletter. So for example, you could have a newsletter that comes out once a week. Everything that you add to it are things like what I read this week, what I listened to this week, or a podcast I listened to this week, a book I read this week, a movie I watched this week, something I learned this week. It could be anything. It could be something I bought this week. Or if you're really into fashion, then maybe think about actually focusing on fashion. How do you style someone who isn't necessarily that confident in their own body? How do you help to make them feel more confident? There could be so many different things that you could do. Like if you have a conversation with someone, I'm sure that there are some of your conversations that take place with people that involve you sharing things that you know that maybe they don't know. So all it really is talking about it, writing about it. There is always someone interested in what you know about and what you're writing about. And even if it isn't something that you're passionate about, you're bound to have an opinion that someone else finds interesting and they want to talk to you about it. On my newsletter, I include things like even TV shows. Now, I don't get the chance to watch a lot of TV, but when I do watch TV, I become addicted to this one show, and I probably watch 1 or 2 episodes every night. I picked a TV series that I recently started watching and I'm addicted to, and I absolutely love it. So I spoke about that. I did a newsletter solely focusing on that TV show and why I think everyone should watch it. And the great thing about having a newsletter, there are no rules. You don't have to think so hard about how you've structured the newsletter. It's really just free flowing, and that's what I think people love about it, because it resonates with them. They feel like it's real. They feel like they're sitting having a cup of coffee with you. A newsletter is very personal, so it really allows you to be able to put your own little twist on it, and it incorporates some of your personality into it. Now, naturally, when you're talking to someone, your personality comes through. And what you'll find is when you're writing, if you really do focus on making it very raw and less structured and less planned, you will honestly see your own personality coming through. Another great thing about having a newsletter is you are building your own audience. You're building an audience that you own. It is your database. Because like I mentioned earlier, when you go onto something like Instagram, that's not your audience. Yeah, you have people that follow you. But when you put a post out and your profile is public, anyone can see that post. Anyone can interact with it. They don't just have to be following you. And the great thing about the newsletter is that the people who subscribe to your newsletter are there because they genuinely find you interesting. They genuinely love the things that you're writing about. It's not just visual. There's a lot more substance to it than just a random selfie and they like the makeup. There's more to it than that. And I feel like that's why I love having a newsletter so much, because as much as I have Instagram, it's all very visual on there. People may like the picture, but that doesn't actually teach them anything about me as a person. There's a lot more to me than just an Instagram selfie. Picture of me on Instagram does not tell them anything other than showing them how I did my makeup and how I've blended it. That's it. It doesn't tell them anything about who I am as a person. And this is a great outlet for me to be able to really kind of connect with people and show them what I'm about, not just visually. Now, once you've had your newsletter for a little while, you could potentially monetize it a little bit later. And the way that you do that is with brand deals and sponsorships. Now, I haven't got to that point yet because I am really focused on just using it as my creative outlet. But later on, hopefully at some point, I'll be able to make it a part of my business and it's one extra business asset to add to my portfolio. But in the meantime, I am loving how it's just my creative outlet. I talk about the things that I want to talk about. I add in things to do with beauty in there. I mix it up. I'm very honest about my opinion and everything's very light-hearted. But at the same time, there are the odd newsletters in there that really do help people to connect to you about certain things that may have happened throughout your life, just in the hope that it makes someone else feel better about something that they may be going through and I already have gone through. So when you do end up monetizing your newsletter, that could be brand sponsorships where someone wants you to talk about a product, they want to sponsor an entire post, or they just want you to maybe drop a little mention in about a product that you generally love anyway. Again, the one thing I would always say with this is do keep it authentic and do stick to brand deals that you truly believe in and not just say yes to any brand deal that comes along. Now, how do you start? The easiest way to start is to just think of what it is that you're going to be writing. And again, remember, either choose something you're passionate about or just curate an email. So you're going to do the same thing, but the content actually changes every time you do it, such as what book I read this week, what I bought this week, a podcast I listened to this week. Change it up every week or choose something else. Hopefully those ideas have just given you a rough idea or kind of pointed you in the right direction. Once you know that, then figure out what platform you actually want to create your newsletter on. I personally love Substack. I find it's really easy. The people on Substack are a breath of fresh air. I honestly love this platform so much because the people are there because they genuinely love reading newsletters and they love your content. Whoever subscribes to your content is there because they genuinely find it interesting. The fact that someone takes out time to actually read something, to me, makes them a very loyal part of my audience and I truly appreciate them. So all you need to do is get started, figure out what your theme's going to be in terms of colors, pick your font and write your first newsletter. It's as easy as that. It's not going to take you much time. And I think it's something that if you just take out half an hour of your time every week, you're going to be able to create something that you're going to end up truly loving. Now, if you do end up starting a newsletter, I would really love to know what that is. So let me know in the comments box below so that I can check it out too. And if you have any questions, let me know. Now, if you do like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care and I'll see you soon.